TheTidesChanging here, and welcome to another speed build. This one is a collab between myself and SimplyNando. He built this beautiful hospital, which I furnished, and this is the hospital that I mentioned in a couple of other speed builds that I've been working on for a few months. As you can see, it's a very large hospital, which is why it took me so long to furnish. There are also some periods where I took a break from working on it, which is why it took me about 3 months. Yeah, I started working on about 3 months ago, and this is split up into 2 parts because of how long it took me to furnish it. I didn't want to speed it up any more than 6 times because when I do, I get comments saying that the interiors go by a little bit too fast and that you'll would prefer that I just leave it a little bit slower so that you can see everything that's going on. But yeah, this hospital took me, I want to say 8 to 10 hours to furnish, although about 5 hours of it made it into the video because I did cut out parts where I would spend like an hour working on something, just decide I didn't like it and just completely redo it, because whenever that happens I do like to cut it out of the video because if it takes up like 5 or 6 minutes of the speed build. But anyway, I'll have a link to the second part down in the description so you can check it out once it's up. It will be up a few hours after this part goes up. I'll also have a link to SimplyNando's video of it being built in the description, as well as a link to his channel. He has some amazing builds on there. He's also working on a beach mod for the game, which is really cool. Right now I'm working on the reception area that's in the front of the hospital, and I wanted there to be an interesting focal point in it that a sim would see if they were walking to the hospital, so I took the square wall decoration that came with Get to Work and blew it up a little bit, and then added some of the flower beds underneath of it. I thought that the flower beds underneath it could look pretty neat, so I wanted to try it out. I'm also adding in some paper type decorations and that little heart bear there to make it look a little bit more welcoming. And there are some counters back there too with some other paper type items on it. I was gonna put a whole ton in there at first, but I do think I ended up cutting back down. Yeah, I think I ended up cutting down the amount of clutter I had back in there. Also threw in a trash can as well. I do change the walls that are in there in a little bit because I didn't quite like how they looked. I also changed the floor because at first I thought it would look neat to have a concrete type floor throughout the whole hospital, but it did look a little plain and I just didn't really like it, so I think I actually went with a wood in a little bit, and right now I'm trying out some other wall colors because I just wasn't really liking the wood accent wall that I had in there. So right now I'm going to change the floor. So I did use, like I said, I did use a wood kind of a floor, which probably isn't the most realistic for a hospital, but when I was furnishing this hospital, I really just wanted to have fun with it, and I didn't want to bog myself down by worrying too much about how realistic it was. I mean, I didn't try to go too, I tried not to go too far off the mark from what's realistic, but I also just really wanted to have fun with it and make a hospital that had a bunch of bright colors in it and wasn't sterile like most hospitals are. So I guess it kind of looks more like a children's hospital because I was looking at pictures of children's hospitals and a lot of them had very bright, cheery colors in them, and that's what I really wanted to go for with this. Right now I'm working on a little seating area since I figured that this whole area was supposed to be like a waiting area. So I did use some nice fun purple chairs as well as a bright green rug, and I ended up not going with orange for the other chairs. I think that's actually a coffee table, not an end table, but I like the glass look of it, and adding in some tissues and some books on top of it. This was the part of the hospital that I did like 3 months ago, so I don't really remember everything that I did, so my memory's getting jogged a bit as I'm watching over this. I also added a magazine rack. I figured that would be something good to have in the waiting area. I was gonna have a couch over here, but I do believe this is what I ended up turning into kind of a little kids corner. Like I had a table in there with some chairs next to it that I figured could be like a table that kids could play at. So here I go adding in the chairs. And then I also put in some toys around it too and a little mat underneath of it. And there goes another magazine rack. So I think in a little bit I do add in some toys. Yeah, here I go. I knew I made this into like a kid's play area, but I didn't want to put in too many toys and overcrowd it. Like, I didn't want to make this hospital look too cluttered because it is a hospital. I figured you wouldn't have just clutter laying all over the place. So it is less cluttered than my builds usually are. Plus, if I went super duper detailed with everything, this build would have just taken me a really, really long time to do because of the size of it, but it was a fun build to do. Like, I really did enjoy furnishing this. It was definitely challenging, something different than I usually do because I really don't do community lots that often, so it's always good to get out of your comfort zone every so often and try something different. So here we have another seating area over here with some different colored chairs. I just wanted to use all sorts of different colors throughout this build. Here's another seating area with the purple chairs and the same lamp, and I did end up changing it to the get to work table lamp, which I really do like. I also added in some curtains to all of the windows, and then I felt like the white wall was a bit too plain, like the white wall everywhere, so I wanted some kind of accent wall, but I wasn't really sure what to do. At first I went with that bright green, but then I was thinking maybe it's a little bit too bold, especially with all of the different colors that I had in here. I figured maybe I should go with something a bit more neutral, just so all the colors didn't seem so overwhelming. And then I also got really stuck on what to do in the entrance area here. So I think, yeah, I went back to just the white there. I believe it's a little while before I settle on what kind of accent wallpaper I wanted to use throughout the hospital. I took a break from figuring out that whole situation to work on doing the furnishing in the entrance area. I thought a bulletin board would be a nice touch, like I could have notices on it for things going on around the hospital, and then I stuck some more chairs in there. And I use the same purple color. I do use that purple color a lot throughout this hospital. I also use a lot of bright greens and also some bright blues, among other bright colors. I just try to use a variety throughout the whole place. So right now is when I finally figure out what kind of wallpaper I wanted to use. I decided to go with a black tile. I really liked how it contrasted with the white walls, and to me the tile just seemed to fit into a hospital. I was also trying to see how it would look if I had some columns in that area, but I think I do remove them because it was a little busy, and then they just seemed sort of out of place in there. And I think that's about it for that whole waiting area. There's not really a whole lot going on in there. It's pretty simple. So what I'm working on now is the cafeteria area. I added in a vending machine to start. I don't think I put it in an actual fridge. I'm pretty sure it's just a vending machine along some counters, and yeah, I believe I went with a grayish kind of wallpaper. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to put in the black accent tiles somewhere in there, and then I was also stuck on the placement of everything because I had those counters in front of the windows, and I really don't like having counters in front of floor-to-ceiling windows like that, so I do think I end up getting rid of the windows that go outside from that area. Yeah, there we go. I got rid of it so that I didn't have the counters in front of the windows, and I just felt like that was the best space to put the counters. So yeah, it's just a vending machine along with a microwave and a coffee machine. I also put some fruit bowls in for decoration along with some cabinets. I kept this whole cafeteria area pretty simple, didn't do anything too fancy. I did something kind of similar to what Maxis did with their hospital, and I didn't try to recreate an actual hospital cafeteria. There wasn't quite enough room in here for that anyway, and to do that I probably would have had to use like the baking displays and the cold food displays from Get to Work. I'm not sure how well that would have worked since this isn't actually a business. Using them would have looked really cool, but it also would have been completely pointless because there wouldn't be a sim cooking food to fill them up with. You could have your sim do it, but it would be a waste of their workday. So right now I'm getting the whole color scheme for the tables here figured out. I want to do something other than the purples and blues and greens that I used out in the waiting area. So what I end up going with is a red and orange color scheme, which I really do like. That's not a color scheme I use too often. So here I go. I just alternated the colors of the chairs. I thought that would look pretty neat. I also add in some chairs around the corners of the rooms as well. And I was going to have some rugs underneath of the tables at first, but then that just didn't really seem quite right to me. I figured that maybe some tiles or some kind of hard flooring would be better, but I did want to have something different in between the columns for the chairs where I thought that would look really nice. At first I was going to try that lacy looking carpet, but no. That carpet's pretty gross looking. I do hope that they add in more carpeting options in the future because they have like two or three at this point. No, I think it's only 2. It would be nice to see some more and also some different color options. But yeah, at this point the whole flooring situation is straightened out. There's not too much more that goes into this cafeteria. I just kept it very simple, didn't really cram it full of tables and chairs and such. So past this is just a few decorations. So we have a little plant over there and a trash can. I figured you'd want to have a trash can as you go towards the door, kind of like if you have a tray, a trash can that you just dump the contents out into, although I mean they don't even have trays. And I was going to put that pedestal there as if it were a surface you could put your trays on, even though they don't actually have trays, but it was just a nice little touch. But for whatever reason I ended up not keeping it there, although I probably should have, because I did think it looked pretty neat. So I'm getting the last bit of decorations into the cafeteria, so now it's done. I'm moving on to this hallway area right here. I wasn't sure what to do with it, and there was a lot of hallway spaces in this hospital. I did leave some of them empty, but for this one I created another sitting area right here. I went with the same purple theme with the chairs that I went with in the entrance area and the whole waiting area. I used the same table, same lamp, just like I said, I kept the same theme going throughout most of the hospital. So that's about it that I really did in this area. Just I didn't really know what else to do, and then put some kind of warning sign in there. So I believe now I'm gonna move on to furnishing the kids' room. So I imagine that these 3 rooms that are on this side of the hospital near the pool were like kids' examination rooms. So I guess I didn't really think of them as rooms where you would stay long term, because there's no bathroom. It's just more for examination. And I do end up taking out the IV drip item that I put on the left side of it, because I did realize that the doctor goes on the left side to examine the patients, and that having that there actually makes it so they can't examine the patient. Because I did do some playtesting with this hospital because I wanted to make sure it was actually playable. I spent, I think, a sim week or 2 playing in the hospital. Like, I had a sim get up to level 4 or 5 of the medical career. And overall, this hospital worked really smoothly. Once I got rid of those IV drips, everything else seemed to work perfectly fine. One thing I haven't tested yet is the area where the surgery machine is, but I will test that before the speed builds up and before it's up for download, because I do want to make sure that the things that your sims really need to use actually work. And overall, this hospital works really well. I was worried about how functional it would be given the size of it, but for me, I didn't really have any issues with lagging. It worked very well. Pretty much everything your sim needs to access is all on the main floor, so they're not running up and down stairs. So the second floor of the hospital is pretty much for show, except for that's where the treadmill that your sims use to assess the health of the patients is. So there's just that one thing that you need upstairs, but there's a staircase going upstairs that's right near it, and that staircase is also right near all the patient rooms, so your sims don't have to go too far to get to it. Oh, I should mention, in case you don't know, if you want to build your own hospital, how you do that is you follow your sim into work, into the medical career, and then once they arrive at the hospital, you type in the cheat bb.enable free build. I'll put it up somewhere on the screen so you can see exactly what it is, and that will allow you to go into build mode where you can demolish the current hospital and put in your own. And to get the hospital beds and the other hospital type items that you need, you will need to use the cheat bb.show hidden objects. Once again, I'll put that on screen, and that will allow you to find those objects. And I think to go find them, you just go into the category section of buy mode, and then if you like click the thing to show all the categories, there'll be a hospital related one. You should be able to find those in there. But back to what I was saying before, playtesting this hospital is actually the first time that I played the medical career, and I did really enjoy it. It did get a little bit repetitive at some points, but it still was pretty fun. And once I get to the point in my Get to Work Let's Play where I'm going to be incorporating the medical career, I would really like to use this hospital. I just think it'd be fun to use something other than the game one. But right now I'm on the second of the kids' room, so I did use a different color scheme in each of them. And I just used the same type of furniture but in different colors just to make it quick. So once I figured out the layout of the first room, it was pretty quick to just go through and do all the other ones, because I just cloned the objects and just plopped them down in the same spots. The computers in all the rooms really weren't necessary, but that just reminded me of a doctor's office where they have the computer where they put in the information. Although nowadays, I guess some doctor offices use iPads. I went to the doctor recently for a checkup, and my doctor used an iPad, and that was the first time I had seen that. So I thought that was pretty cool that they were incorporating more technology. Like when I had to sign stuff, it was all using iPad. I didn't have to do any kind of actual paperwork, which I found really cool. But, okay, yeah, back to this. The second room is just about done. I replaced the posters I had with an eyesight chart. I thought that would be pretty cool. So now I'm on the last of the rooms, which has a mauve. Oh no, I think I changed it. I changed the color to just a green because I like that a little bit more than what I had originally. So I think this is what I stick with. And I got a little dinosaur in the corner there. So I thought of this room as having sort of a dinosaur theme. And now I'm just getting those plants in. Unfortunately, the game doesn't really, like saying that this is a kid's room doesn't really make the game put only kids in there, but that's not too big of a deal. I did also make more adult type rooms on the opposite side of the hospital from here. So over on the other outer edge of this building, like all the way across, like on the front side. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that quite right. And here I was finding that when I went to go change the wallpaper, I was going to delete the items that I raised up with move objects, but I did get a helpful hint or a helpful tip in one of my Let's Build parts where someone said, you can just turn off the move objects cheat and that won't happen. And I didn't think of that before, so when they said that I was like, oh wow, okay, that's great. So yeah, if you're building and you use a move objects cheat to raise stuff up and then you want to go change the wallpaper, you can just turn off the cheat and it won't delete the stuff. So yeah, I should have figured that out before, but I'm glad someone told me and that I now know that, so I'm passing that on to those of you who may not have realized that. So that's it for all the kids' rooms, and I'm on the kind of like the lab area. I just have one of each of the kind of analysis machines in those rooms. I don't know if they use the one that's in the... I can't remember exactly what it's called. The one that's in the room on the right. At the point I played to in the medical career, they didn't even use that one. They just used the analyzer, so that might not even need to be in there, but it's in there just in case. So these rooms are pretty simple. There's really not a whole lot to them. I didn't really know what all to put in them anyway, so yeah, I just kept things pretty simple. Just simple neutral colors in there as well. Did the same kind of thing in this room with the counters and the cabinets and the paperwork laying around. I also thought having the hazmat type bins in there would be a really nice touch too. So that is it for those rooms, and over there you can see where the x-ray machines and the surgery machine is. But right now I'm working on what were supposed to be the public bathrooms, and I should mention that I did do this whole build before Spa Day came out, I think, because I started, like I said, 3 months ago, so that was before Luxury Party stuff came out, although I didn't use any of that in this, but I did use some Perfect Patio stuff in it, I think, but I finished the whole thing before Spa Day came out, so none of those items are in there. It would have been cool to use the bathroom doors. I kept things pretty simple with the bathrooms too, just a nice neutral color scheme in them, and each one has 2 stalls. Just put the same kind of stuff in each one of them with some mirrors in case your Sims want to check themselves out after they're done using the bathroom, and then some more mirrors over on the other side with where the sinks are, and then of course I used the hand pump and the paper towel dispenser. You of course have to have a trash can as well, and I did brighten up things a bit because I looked at it and I felt like the bathroom was a bit too dark. It could use some brightening up, and there's also a plan to add some greenery and something other than the whites and grays as well. And also changing the door colors. There's not a whole lot to say about the bathroom really. I did also add a bright colored chair in for a pop of color. Just a chair your Sims can sit in if if all the stalls are full. So now moving over to the second bathroom, which pretty much just has the same types of objects in it. Same bright colored chair, same mirror for Sims to check themselves out in. But now that that's done, I'm moving on to the more adult rooms. So these I had in mind as more of like a long-term room. Since they do have their own bathroom, there are plenty of bathrooms in this hospital, so despite the size, you'll never have to worry about your Sim having to go too far to get to a bathroom. And also the computers in the rooms are really handy too, because you do need to analyze analyze the samples from the Sim, so there's always a computer nearby to go to do that. So it is a bit excessive the amount of computers I have in here, but it's also pretty handy too, and it really isn't doing a whole lot of harm. And for the bathrooms, I just did the same thing with all the bathrooms in these rooms, and like with the children's rooms, I did the same thing with the furniture, except that I had different colors in the rooms, and I did use bright colors as well because, like I said before, I didn't want this to be a sterile hospital. I want there to be lots of bright and fun colors. I also added in some artwork above the bed to make the room look a bit nicer. And then behind the beds, I did have an accent wall with the with the black tile on it. I thought that would look pretty nice. And that ivy drip decoration, of course, does go away. There's also a flat screen TV in these rooms, along with a table that has some like flowers, and it has a heart bearer on it too when I get to it. And then there's also another computer area as you walk in, so I just have a computer on it along with some paper decorations, also a trash can as well, and another piece of artwork. I thought a motivational poster would be nice to add in there too, with a bright colored rug. I was thinking that the decorations on this table could be like gifts that people brought for their family member who was sick. There's also some books for reading. I thought that could work, like books that were just in the room for Sims to grab. I'm not sure how realistic that is. I actually haven't spent a ton of time in hospitals myself. Like, I've gone to hospitals to visit family members who are staying, and other than that, I've only been at the hospital myself a couple of times, and those were more so for emergency room type visits. And there's also when I was born. I was also in the hospital when I was born. But as far as the times I went into the emergency room, just in case anyone was wondering, the first time was when I was 2. I don't really remember a whole lot about this, but I was at a daycare, and the woman who owned it had a dog, and she left me alone with the dog, and I somehow annoyed it, and it just bit my face. It wasn't anything too bad. It was like, I don't think it bit down too hard or anything like that. I just had to get some stitches. And then the other time, I actually remember quite a bit more about the other time. I was 5, and my mom was going to the gym, and she was going to bring my brother and I with her, and they had this daycare there, and you were allowed to bring videotapes that you wanted to watch. And I was really into Barney at the time because I love dinosaurs, and Barney was a dinosaur. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason I watched it. And last minute, I remembered I could bring the videotapes as we were going out the door, and I was like, Mom, I need to grab the Barney videos because I gotta watch them. And she's like, okay, hurry up and get them. So I ran to where they were, I grabbed them, and then I ran back, and I didn't tie my shoes, so unfortunately I tripped over my shoes, and there was a door that was open, and I hit the corner of the door and got a nice gash on my forehead from that, so I just had to get some stitches, and I was good to go on that. So from that, I did learn the hard way to always tie my shoelaces. And fortunately, nothing too bad has happened to me as far as injuries go, and I'm really thankful for that. But I'm gonna get back to the build. I did go off topic and ramble a little bit, but I think that's fine because this is a very long speed build. Like, the 2 parts put together is about 53 minutes of actual furnishing, and the second room is pretty much just the same thing as the first and the third room, so not a whole lot to really say about it. So right now we're on the last of the rooms, which at first I gave an orange theme, but I do think I changed it to more of a bluish color. I was trying to use different colors for the walls, but I kept going back to blue and green colors. The mauve color that I used in the second room is at least a different one, but the third room goes pretty quick because at this point I knew what I was going to put everywhere because I was just using the same stuff, which did make it very easy and very quick to furnish these rooms. So we of course have the TV, we have the table with the gift type items, and I was trying to use different items between the same room so it didn't look like they were the same gifts in each one. We also have the books too, so I think, yeah, that's about it. We've got a decoration going up and some other wall paintings, and then we do of course have to add in the bright colored rug in there as well. That's it for the furnishing of the patient room. So after I put some different wallpaper on either side of this hallway, I do move on to furnishing the area where the x-ray machines and the surgery room is. And this video does just show the furnishing of the first floor. I figured having each video be the furnishing of a different floor of this hospital would be a good way to split things up. And I wasn't sure what to do with this space here, so I figured it could be a waiting area, like just another waiting area. At first I did use the same purple color that I used out in the other waiting area, but then I did end up going with more of a red color scheme for this because I figured it'd be good to use some different color schemes. I think there's also some green thrown in as well. Like, I think I make that rug green. There's also a magazine rack in there too. I'm not sure if Sims can actually grab magazines from that or if it's just pure decoration. I haven't messed with that item too much, so I'm not sure. It would be cool if they could actually grab magazines from it. Maybe they can buy stuff from it. I'm really not sure. I did also put a TV in there as well. I thought that could be kind of nifty to have in there. Also a vending machine and a trash can next to it too for them to throw away trash, but I did just have magazine racks underneath the TV because of the accent table didn't really feel quite right in there, so I thought that would work better, and I'm just tweaking the color scheme. Wasn't so sure about all the red in there. I think I had a couple of goes at trying to furnish this whole area. Like I tried it once and then I scrapped it and started over. And I actually struggled with this whole area of the hospital bit. I think it took me 3 to 4 hours just to furnish this whole area, like these 3 rooms, but I ended up cutting a lot of it out just because it would have made like 3 hours. When you speed up 6 times, it's still 30 minutes, so keeping all that in would have just made the speed build way too long. I did change the white walls to be gray because I felt like they needed something that felt a little bit richer, I guess is the only way I can really think of to explain it. I just felt like the gray looked better. I also did change the rug to be a green color. I really like how the red looks with that green colored rug there. And the last thing in here is I added a couch with a plant and a lamp next to it. So that is it for this whole waiting area. So now I'm going to move on to the room where the x-ray machines were. I really wasn't sure what to do with this room because I wanted to have more than just the x-ray machines in it, but I didn't know what belonged in there. I figured some computers would work, so I decided to make just one side of the room like a computer area, so I have just alternate on each counter there's a computer with a stool in front of it. Then I thought it might be interesting if I put the taller cupboard-like ones in between each one, but then that just looked odd, so I just left out 2 computers with those taller cabinets on either side, and I think that looks pretty good. I also threw in the darker tiled accent wall as well. I can't remember if that stays in or not at this point. I think that, yeah, that wood paneling also changes to a nice bright white, because I felt like that was a bit dark for that room. And one touch I really like that SimplyNando did was using the darker tinted windows in this room. I thought that was a really nice touch for the x-ray room, and then at this point, I discovered that those railings existed. Like, I just forgot about them. I did put a bunch of those all along that one really long hallway I didn't add any furniture to. That was over near the adult rooms. But that's the last of the decorations for the x-ray room. So now moving on to the surgery area, which I had a lot of fun with. I wasn't sure what to do with the whole huge room that originally was. So I split it up into 3 rooms, and my thought was that one of the rooms could be, I guess it's called a scrub room. I might be wrong on that. But the room where the surgeons can wash up before going into the operating room. And so you just have a smaller room you walk into from the waiting area, and then from that room you can either go into where the surgery machine is, or you can go into where the scrub room is. I'm just gonna keep calling that even though it might be wrong. But this whole area was pretty neat to furnish. So now I'm working on the scrub wash-up room. I did put in the medical fridge. I thought that would be a pretty nice touch for there, so all along the wall I have the medical fridge, and I have some counters with a sink on it. Also threw in a fire extinguisher just because. You also have the hazmat bin in there, which I thought worked really well, as well as some cabinets. So there's really nothing too exciting in here. I also kept everything pretty sterile looking and just used plain neutral type colors. I wasn't sure what to put on top of the counter, so I just threw in a box of documents, although in hindsight I probably should have just left that open because I probably wouldn't have papers in a room like this. But we're nearing the end of the furnishing of the scrub room. Just add in a rug last thing, and then I do really quickly furnish the room that you walk into from the waiting room. I really didn't know what to put into that room, so I just put in a bunch of cabinets. That's just all I could think of. So cabinets going all the way up to the ceiling, and then I took out that one window because it was blocked by the cabinets. And then a plant in the corner to brighten things up a little bit. Now moving on to the surgery room, which is the last room that was furnished in this part. I do still really need to test this room because, as you'll see, I put a bunch of stuff around it. I meant to pick out the empty baby carriage thing, but I actually picked out the one that had a baby in it and I couldn't delete it, so I didn't know what to do with it, so I went to go just stick it upstairs because I figured I'd just leave it as a problem for my future self, but it vanished. So I don't know what happened to that baby. I don't know if it's still somewhere in the hospital. I don't think it is. But anyway, like I was saying before, I put a whole bunch of stuff around the surgery area because I was trying to make it look somewhat realistic, and I looked at pictures of surgery rooms and I noticed that they had a bunch of stools, medical equipment, lights, also a bunch of like monitoring screens. So I was trying to recreate that some, and I don't know if having all those objects that close to the machine will make it so your Sims can't use it. I will test it before I upload it to the gallery, so if you do download it and this room ends up looking a lot more bare than it does in the speed build, that's why. Because I just don't want people to download this and then have it not work and have them be sitting there trying to figure out why it's not working. I'm also sticking a bunch of TVs on different surfaces to be like monitoring screens. That's also why there's a TV on the wall. I also thought that X-ray decoration would be a nice touch for this as well. And there's another TV on another table. We are almost at the end of this part though, and before I leave off, I want to remind you that if you want to add this hospital to your game, there will be a link to it in the description below. I'll also throw in a link to the unfurnished one in case any of you would like to furnish this beautiful hospital yourself. And with that, this is where I'm going to leave off. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and bye!